So I finished Star Wars Jedi Survivor and have a lot of tips I want to share with you in the hopes of helping you out make the most out of the game when starting up fresh. We'll talk about exploration, becoming super strong, new mechanics and lots more. Of course, free of any story spoilers, so you don't have to worry about any of that. Also, huge thanks to EA and Respawn for the early review code, and if you end up finding this video useful, a sub to the channel would help me a ton. But before we jump in with the video, first a word from our sponsor, Honkai Star Rail. Honkai Star Rail is a brand new multi-platform space fantasy RPG from Hoyoverse, the creators behind the super popular Genshin Impact, and it launches this month on April 25th. The game has dozens of characters to choose from, all with their own unique flair and set of powers. Coupled with the game's turn-based combat, this offers new ways to create strategic plays and create stunning power combos like never before. There's a massive game world you can freely explore too, filled with loot to collect, puzzles to solve, stories to see, and lots more, all while striving to achieve the highest power level possible to overcome increasingly bigger threats. Best part is Honkai Star Rail is completely free to play and fully supports crossplay between PC and mobile, so you can play it anywhere, anytime. Definitely make sure you check out Honkai Star Rail using my links below. It's out now, and you also get an extra 50 Stellar Jades using my promo code. Again, thanks so much to Hoyoverse for the sponsorship, and now back to the video. Coming right up, this game is much larger than Fallen Order, so consulting the Holomap often is more important than ever. Whenever you feel lost, taking a quick glance at the map from all angles will help a lot with any gaps or obstacles you might have missed in the environment. The icons you see are also important as they will hint if you can access an area or not, or if you should come in later. Green icons generally mean the path ahead is open, so you can unlock it right away. Yellow is for entryways to zones you haven't discovered yet, so it's good to scout ahead and reveal more areas of the map. Meanwhile, red are restricted areas, either because you're lacking a certain upgrade or because you didn't reach a certain point yet in the main story, so you can just come back to them later. Meditation points also became a lot more useful than ever as they now serve as fast travel points as well. You will revisit areas many times, so you will want to make sure you have all the fast travel points unlocked to progress faster to your next destination. There's one more thing that will make later on visits a breeze too, and that is by unlocking shortcuts. Just like in the previous game, these are the zip lines, ropes, and doors locked from the other side that once you open up will significantly cut down on any backtracking by creating a direct route to your next objective. And speaking of objectives, one of your biggest whenever you find yourself in a new zone is to literally collect everything. Jedi Survivor is packed with important character upgrades, hidden treasures, and collectibles you'll want to get. You can see all that information easily displayed for each zone by just expanding the collectibles menu while hovering over a specific area and then taking a glance at what you might have missed. Early on, I suggest keeping an eye out for any shiny objects as these can be exchanged at vendors for a lot of amazing cosmetics. On Kobo, this includes the priorite shards that you'll often find in caves, which you can use in Rambler's Reach. But other planets like Jeddah feature historical scrolls instead that can also be used at a specific vendor and get some lightsaber components. Finally, also for exploration, Cal can now swim and even dive underwater, which 9 times out of 10 will lead to a hidden item chest that you will want to grab right away. Moving on though, don't be scared to progress a bit in the main story, as this is the main way to get all the tools needed to traverse the environment. There are many side areas that normally you can enter, only to realize you're missing a certain upgrade to finish them, so you're kinda wasting time. So early on, you will get the Ascension Cable, which already helps to reach distant points, but there are many more. Mounts are one of them, and not too long into the campaign, you will get to tame quite a few of them. Planets have their own different creatures to mount that don't just help traverse the large open spaces better, but also offer mechanics to reach areas you normally cannot on your own. The Neko is the earliest example as it lets you climb the slippery ramps of Kobo and even reach higher up places. Thanks to its double jump feature, you can use that to boost yourself up and jump to impossibly high locations, which there are many of on that planet. Once tamed, mounts can also be called from almost anywhere, and there are even stables on Kobo to store them into. Later on, tools will let you do even more incredible things, such as the air dash, which makes you easily pass through energy shields or strong winds. There's also an upgrade to the Ascension cable to use movable grapple points, and these will come in much later, but BD1 also gets its own upgrades too, some via exploration, other just from the main story. The ones from the story include new abilities to open up inaccessible areas and power up batteries, so again, all of these are super worth it. Coming up next, Jedi Survivor makes you use the environment to solve puzzles a lot more than Fallen Order, many times in conjunction with your own force powers. While most of them are pretty straightforward, the ones you should be paying special attention to are any that involve spawning roller mines nearby. These will start chasing you the moment they see you and even blow up if they get too close, but you can use them to crack open otherwise locked areas. However, not all breakable entrances are located nearby, and some of them are actually super far away from the roller mine spawn point. So in this case, just let them chase you without getting too close as you're making your way towards your destination. They will chase you for as long as it takes, and when you're close, you can just grab the mine and blow up any obstacle you might be facing. But let's talk about combat. We have a lot of recurring and even more completely new features here, and nothing makes the game feel more fresh than the new stances and the massive changes to each combat style. I highly recommend focusing your first playthrough on any of the 3 new stances as they are all extremely strong in different ways. Besides the single and double bladed that make a return from the first game, the next one you unlock is the dual wield, which now gets its own unique stance. This is literally my favorite, and it has a very cool skill that lets you perfectly parry and completely prevent damage from almost any attack. Plus, it's very fast paced, letting you break out of animations quickly to better react to incoming hits. Blaster stance follows after, also from the story, and it just adds such a cool dynamic to Cal that we never had before. First, the blaster is so useful as you can just shoot anything from very far away, plus they have their own unique upgrades you can get later on for more damage and utility. The fighting style here reminds me of fencing too, when you're using the sword, with a lot of pokes and stabs from far away, making it a perfect tool in any one-on-one fight. Crossguard, while it is the last to unlock, also has a few unique features. One is, well, the fact that it's a very heavy slow hitter, and it's great at almost immediately breaking shields or enemy guards. It also features a strong throw attack that completely destroys enemies in case you want something more brutal. It is, however, slower, and you must account to be more careful how you plan your next attack, but it's worth it when you can pull it off successfully. Let's also talk about a few combat strategies, as Jedi Survivor throws more enemies at you than ever before. One of the best combat tricks you should know early is to keep your distance and always assess the situation. Especially when fighting battle droids or any other enemy that launches explosives towards you, you will always want to be far enough to quickly throw back any rocket with your force push. This is much more efficient and can literally wipe entire groups with their own attacks. Similarly, between the abundance of BX droids, Magna Guards, and other very agile foes, pairing has become more important than ever to deal with the uneven battles. Even the lame B1 battle droids or the stormtroopers can become dangerous when in large numbers, which they often are, so you will want to constantly reflect back their shots to quickly deal with them. And most important, do not fear switching stances often. It's no longer so much about which stance deals most damage, but rather what combat moves they use to bypass enemy defenses quickly. You might end up liking the blaster stance to keep enemies at a distance, or prefer the brutal hits from the crossguard to make quick work of enemy shields. Companions is another new feature that adds a whole new dimension to combat, and there are many moments when they get to accompany you both in and outside main story missions. So basically, spamming their attacks with R1 and square will oftentimes break an otherwise tough enemy's defenses when Cal otherwise couldn't so easily. Bode, for example, is great at jump kicking enemies and using AoE stun grenades, while Marin has some super strong ensnares and really high dagger damage. Plus, you get to do some really cool combo finishers when playing with them, which is something really awesome, always a nice sight to behold, and always just as brutal. But let's keep on going and let's talk about the skill trees. There are new ones, 9 of them in total, 5 for each of the stances, 1 for survival, and 3 for the force power. My recommendation is to focus your early skill points on just a couple of stances, since the max you can use at any time is only 2. Second of all, the game now lets you view an ability by pressing square before even buying it, so you can see exactly what the skill does before investing any points into them. However, third of all, there is also a reset all skill button now that lets you refund all the points that you have spent. So no longer are you stuck with a build until much later. However, only the first skill reset is free, while the following ones will cost 1 skill point each. That's why early on you don't really want to overdo it since your skill points are limited. Personally, I focused on the double wield and the blaster stance once I got them, with extra points going into the force and HP for Cal. But I've also made a video on the best early skills you should get right away, so totally check that one out too. Now, since we talked about skill points, here are some of the best ways to get a lot of them and make Cal a lot stronger. For skill points, always do the force stairs. These are the purple portals that you'll find in each map region, and you can easily verify if there's one in your current zone by expanding the map objectives menu and then looking at how many there are in it. They usually involve either a parkour challenge or a fight against certain enemies. For example, one of the first you might encounter on Kobo, the Fractured Resolve, has a damaging energy shield that switches left to right every time you do a jump as it rushes towards you. So you will want to account for that and not jump in its path, otherwise you will fail. There are many more advanced ones coming later on, but they provide 1 skill point each and are all really fun. The other ones are the essences, these blue glowing floating energy crystals that you'll spot off the beaten path. Once interacted with, they can give out anything from HP, force increase, or occasionally more skill points and even perk points, and these are very numerous, almost always easy to find. Always worth it since they'll add up over time very fast, and even more than some of the similar perks you will have in your skill trees. But it goes without saying that defeating foes gives XP too, with the tougher boss encounters providing the most, sometimes half and maybe even more of an entire level. But also do not skip on the data banks, these like shiny bluish auras that you can find in a lot of places. While many of them do not give much XP and provide more like a context to what's happening in the world, there are quite a few tied to the main story that also provide a visual, and they will give you a lot more XP, sometimes even more than entire boss fights. But let's talk about some awesome new mechanics, as Jedi Survivor is much less a lonely adventure than Fallen Order used to be, and it's instead filled with characters you will want to help out in your journey. So make sure you always engage in conversations whenever you see any random NPC, as they'll oftentimes tell you about rumors they heard about places or other characters. These are basically side mission equivalents of this game and will indicate a location on the map as well as a general description that you will need to check out. It could be a boss encounter such as the Rancor that I got to learn about via a rumor as well, but also secret areas, puzzles, characters, and many more other types of content. Rambler's Reach is one of the best areas to hear such rumors, as it already starts with a small population of travelers. But many more are out there in the world doing their work and oftentimes in need of your help. Grease Saloon in Rambler's Reach is where quite a few prospectors tend to meet up, and you can even inquire the bartender bot to give you the latest rumors that you might want to complete. And speaking of Rambler's Reach, this is so much more than just a location to visit, but actually your very own home that you get to grow up over time. That's because completing rumors and helping out different characters will let you recruit them and then send them back over here. Once recruited, many of them will open up completely new gameplay functionalities that give you access to important new mechanics. For example, you get multiple vendors both for new cosmetic items as well as powerful character upgrades. You can also open up new mini-games like the Holo Tactics, which is otherwise completely missable. Meanwhile, other characters will start moving into the new homes and even repair the once run-down buildings of Rambler's Reach, so now you can access the rewards inside. But other characters are also there for the flavor, like getting a DJ droid for the saloon with awesome tracks to buy and play, or even a fishing tank to store all the aquatic life that you'll be collecting. In any case, there's many other things awaiting for you out in the open world, and one really cool area are the Jedi temples, kinda like the dungeon equivalents from Breath of the Wild. They usually involve solving puzzles using your own Jedi skills to reach an altar at the end that provides a perk as a reward. More on that in just a little bit, but just like in Zelda, this will start making use more and more of the new skills that you get to unlock via the main story. However, all the ones I've done featured an extra room as well, instead of which it was also possible to get an extra item cache. So before you think you're ready to leave, do a double check and try to get any door that you might have missed opened for potentially some great items inside. At first, you will just use your Jedi powers to use mystical orbs and open up new pathways. And last but certainly not least, we also have the brand new perk system. On top of the skill trees and everything else, Cal can now also further enhance his powers with unique socketable perks. Many of them come from Jedi temples, but others can be brought from vendors or even rewarded from certain side content. There are plenty in there for all playstyles, so they can buff your damage, increase XP, prevent enemies hitting you, and so on. These perks have a cost which goes from 1 all the way to 3 for the most expensive, and you will have to make sure you have enough perk points to activate the perks that you want. Cal only starts with a limited of 3 or 4 at the start, but luckily he can get a lot more extra slots. Ruins are a great source for that because once completed, they can expand it by 1 point, but I've seen these also be given via essences or rewarded upon defeating certain enemies and completing certain rumors. In any case, Jedi Survivor is absolutely massive, contains a lot of content, and is a strong contender for Game of the Year in my book. In any case, there's going to be a lot more content coming really soon, so if you want to stay up to date with that, definitely make sure you subscribe and activate that notification bell. Also, leaving a like on the video helps me a ton, and I'll see you guys in the next video.